Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts, like the chart behind me, which is of Tesla, ticker symbol TSLA. And so I am recording this during market hours on Tuesday, April 22nd. Happy Earth Day, by the way. And Tesla is trading right around $236 a share. As we can see, we've had a pretty big pullback from the highs, testing the upper 480s, nearly getting to $500 a share. So quite a discount here, but maybe this is a bear flag. Maybe it's going to be breaking lower, especially with earnings after the close today. And I am pretty excited about that. I don't know if you guys are, I imagine so. And so with that being said, I did want to go over some levels that I've drawn up here also, the moving averages, and look at the volume over here. But before I dive into that, I wanted to just highlight that I do have this poll on my X page here, dgen_Ann. And yeah, I would like to be streaming that earnings call, but unfortunately, I am at work during it. I should be able to stream it ASAP at midnight Eastern. So I guess tomorrow morning at the start of the day, or these other options. Make sure you vote in the poll if you would like to see my response, my thoughts to their earnings call. And I have to say that, I would not normally be doing that, but I'm just so inspired by Elon, by Tesla. I know Elon can be a controversial guy at times, but for me personally, I've just always been really inspired by him, and I feel like a lot of people, the naysayers, a lot of people who have been trashing the stock, like Tim Walz, for example, on the way down here, I think that that's really just responding to something emotionally, and Tesla is a great innovative company, and with innovation comes controversy, and so that's kind of what you expect with somebody like Elon. And so for me personally, I'm just really inspired by him, and I'm excited about their earnings call. But anyways, I don't want to ramble too much about that. Let's get into the chart here. And so really, a little bit of a concern that I have personally, and I have to say I do have a pretty small position in Tesla, and my average is below where we're currently trading, but only slightly below. I had initially established my position, I believe, over here on August 5th. And then during this drawdown, I did add to my position. I doubled it. But again, it's a very, very small position. I would like to add to it over time, but I am just a little bit concerned that we might be coming down to this level over here. So I'll kind of, break down my thought process in how I think the stock could get down there, or, what would really, prove that target wrong and that it would be getting left behind. And so what we see here in the chart, let's see, is this Fibonacci retracement going from the low that we hit on exactly a year ago today, on April 22nd. Pretty remarkable. Earth Day had a great dip buying opportunity. Very interesting. Is history going to repeat itself with a low or a bottom on Earth Day? And so that low was at a price of $138.80 there right before earnings. Pretty interesting. I think they maybe planned that around Earth Day. It makes sense for a company like Tesla. And then so from that retracement going up to that all-time high of $488.54, we've got these two Fibonacci levels here. One is the 618, which is overhead. That is around $272. And then just below us, we see the 786, also a confluence of levels here across there. So I find that to be pretty interesting. That is right around $213, $214 a share. And interestingly, you might not be able to see it. There's a blue dashed line there. And so the low prior to, I believe, the couple earnings ago, two earnings ago, on October 23rd, we hit a low of $212.11, but on that day we actually closed at 213.65, and so that is where that blue line comes in. There was a gap formed there. But, while Tim Walz was trashing the stock, we actually, I should take a step back. I thought we had filled the gap. We actually have not. On April 7th, we hit a low of 214.25, so nearly filling that gap. And one of the things that I find really intriguing about gaps, whether they get filled or not, is a lot of people, tend to see them. They tend to map them out. They tend to draw lines like I have here. And then they say, well, wait, I'm going to wait to buy the dip when that gap is filled. But then we get just, cents away. Let's see, 60 cents away from filling that gap, and it didn't get filled. And so maybe it never does get filled. Maybe waiting for it, you get left behind. So I think that's an interesting aspect about gaps and them getting filled, because they definitely get left behind. Tesla has a number of gaps that have been left behind. So I think it's quite possible that that level does not get hit to 1365. But like I had mentioned, with some levels to the downside, I think there is a possibility that we do go lower. But I think maybe we get a bounce before that happens, or maybe corresponding with earnings, we break down, because everybody looks back to earnings a year ago on, right around Earth Day, and that was a bottom. That was a great dip buying opportunity. Maybe that doesn't happen here. Maybe we see this play out as a bear flag. But one way, or a number of ways, that we could kind of look at the chart here to try and get an idea of if it could be going lower is looking at the volume, the RSI, and MACD down below here. And so, I have to say I'm not the best at analyzing these, but I'm just going to try to give you my perspective on them. And so what we see here in the stock price, we can see that we did hit a lower low over here at 214.25 on April 7th, as I had mentioned. And so with that lower low, what do we see? We see volume, it's kind of flat. So I feel like the highs are not really that groundbreaking. We did see this higher high over here. I believe that was the 9th when, the markets really ramped up here. Tesla went up 22.69%. Maybe that's a good luck number there with the 69. Everybody's favorite number. And but we did get rejected. It looks like we hit a close. We closed or hit a high of, high of 274.69 again on that day, that number popping up. But the close was 272.20. And we have that 618 at 272.40, and that is, of course, the retracement from the top here. So maybe that would have acted as support. We did get rejected from it, so now it looks like that's acting as resistance. We did get rejected from it over here, so maybe we bounce up to the level around 270, maybe 269, have fun with it, and get rejected. So that is possible. But we also do have this orange uptrend, which is a historical level that I have used to, kind of monitor the chart and try to trade it as best I can. And that goes back to, that low that we hit on April 22nd of last year. That was at a price of $138.80. And then also coming down to this low on August 5th, which was at a price of $182. I believe that also corresponds with the Fibonacci retracement. I believe that was the 618, which I can draw up here really quick. Just so, that was, the 618. Wow, memory serves me well. So that was around 189, right around there. But I'm just going to delete that so we don't have the clutter on the chart. But dip buying level, you want to see a confluence of levels to suggest that a bottom could be in with that 618 and the trend line here, which perhaps you just had the 618, also this consolidation over here suggesting there might be some support there. Just below it, a lot of price action, that support. So that was a great dip buying opportunity back there. But now we are trading below it, and it has acted as resistance most recently, that orange uptrend. So what I could see, if the stock price does go up following earnings, if there is a reaction to earnings and it does launch higher, not only do I think, let's say 269 to have fun with it, could be acting as resistance, but getting up here to this orange uptrend, that's around 290. So I view that range as being where we might be forming a top. We might be bumping into some resistance, But, just like over here, we had a 22, almost 23% upside day. It's quite possible we could see something like that tomorrow or into tomorrow, and that would be putting price right around 290, getting into that. And so if something like that does happen, a number of options, one of those options, I'll try to draw them all out, but that we get a launch up here, but then flip the 272 as support, and then we form a bull flag and then do something like that. Let's see how that arrow looks. That's an ugly arrow, but you get the idea. So that is one scenario, something that could happen around earnings. And obviously, that is going to be like the best case scenario. So I'm just going to color that doodle green so we can see it there. And let's think about, another option. One, really just kind of based on the same type of thing is getting up here, but then getting rejected from around 272, and then, do something like that. So a very similar pattern, a little bit better of an arrow, but still pretty ugly there. So, those are some possibilities for upside that I think could be sustainable, could be continued, followed through, and then maybe we get back up to these levels here. And if we do break above like 290, if we do start to get into the 300s, what are some levels that I think could be acting as resistance? I'd say between like 320 and 330. You can see where the cursor is right around there. The reason for that is we've got, a test of this level here and a bounce before breaking lower, and that happens to coincide with the wick from over here, consolidation above it. So that's going to be resistance. Buyers up here might want to get out at break even if price does get up to that level, or maybe they got their averages down a little bit. And so I think that would be resistance, them taking profits there, taking some risk off the table and whatnot. So I'm just going to draw a line going across here. Not to say that I think that's a good level to sell at or anything, but I'm going to color it red just because I think that there is most certainly going to be some resistance there. And you can even see, looking at the chart, it's a little bit wonky, but it does look like there's a little micro left shoulder there, kind of a double-headed head here, and then a right shoulder here, a little bit of a hunchback, two-headed monster, something like that. That is the neckline of this head and shoulders pattern. Actually, that's pretty interesting because we can take a measurement from that, just going from the top of the head there down to getting the midpoint to be at that neckline, and that would, effectively give us a target of where the stock price could be going. And so I'm just going to draw that out here. And that actually happens to coincide with this confluence of levels here, the yellow downtrend as well as the green uptrend. So I'll have to look at those levels here in a second. But if this was a head and shoulders pattern and the move plays out, that would be a target of right around 170, or gotta have fun with the numbers, 169. That is possible. But it also could, tease everybody wanting to get in at 169, getting the averages down with a buy there. Everybody be excited about 169. And so maybe it doesn't quite get there. Maybe it just gets to 180, something like that. That would be a great discount. I would love to get more shares down there. But of course, we do have, 213, 214 right around there, the levels that I talked about that we bounced from. So that is another pathway that the stock could be going following earnings. Maybe it's not such an exciting move, but maybe it just comes down here and then continues to consolidate, whether that's a bear flag and this starts to break down or whatnot. I don't know. I am not going to judge. I'm just going to color that line orange because that's kind of like, the not such bad case scenario, but still, it's not the green or the yellow that we see up here. And so looking at the chart, levels to the downside, I mentioned 169, 170, stuff like that. How do I get those levels? And do I think price could be coming down to there? So let's take a step back looking at these two trend lines. And so this yellow one, it looks like it goes back to the prior all-time highs that we hit in 2021. That was at a price of $414.50. And then let's see, where's the other pivot point? That looks like it is from this high over here that was hit on July 19th of 2023. And from that, we can see there were multiple tests over here. This looks like it was in January of 2022. Another near test, April of 2022. And then we, of course, have the pivot point over here from July 19th. 2023, a near test over here, December 28th. And then we kind of, start to attempt to break above it, pull back, and then we actually do break above it. And we, here we attempted to break above it, but then gapped below, got rejected, and then came back lower. But once we did get above it, when we gapped down, we were then trading above that level. And, with that confluence of levels there, we did get a very nice move to those new all-time highs of 488.54. And so from that, again, confluence of levels, we went up over 125% to the upside. So a very nice move there. We could be pulling back to that downtrend. And then the other level that creates that confluence of levels that we want to be seeing for really great dip buying discounted opportunities is going to be this green trend. And this one, I believe, goes back quite far in time. And this actually goes back to, I thought it went back further in time. This goes back to the lows of March 2020. Lots of panic in the market during that month, as we all know. And the low for Tesla, believe it or not, oh my gosh, was $23.37. I was going to say 200 something, $23.37. So pretty low over there. Would have loved to stack at that discount. And then we also see the 6th of January 2023 hit a low of $101.84, 81 cents, sorry about that. And so those are the two pivot points for that uptrend. And then we did test it, about a year ago, actually exactly a year ago on April 22nd, like I had mentioned multiple times in the video so far, $138.80. So let's see that confluence of levels. Again, right around 170. So I guess kind of like the bearish scenario that we could get following earnings. And let's see, I'm actually going to zoom in, but then I'm going to adjust the axis over here so I can draw it to suggest that, price might, break lower like this and then maybe come down, something like that. And then, in my view, 170, 180, right around there. Maybe we get to 169. Who knows? That would be like another dip buying opportunity of a lifetime, like we have seen in the past. So, what am I expecting? What am I planning on doing? And actually, before I get into that, before I forget, I should throw up moving averages because those kind of suggest, in my view, that we actually maybe I'm going to just remove my drawings for a second, throw up the moving averages. We have all of them above us. We have the 21-day in pink here. That's at 256, so that could be some resistance. We have the 50-day moving average at around 275. Again, that could be resistance. And then the 200-day moving average there in blue, that's around 291. All of these levels could be acting as resistance. And another thing, you might notice it on the chart, is that we've seen some bearish crosses or, the death cross, which is the 50-day moving average in yellow there, crossing below the 200-day. We also saw kind of a micro death cross with the 21-day, sorry about that, moving average in pink there going below that 200-day moving average. So we've seen these crosses that suggest, a lot of bearishness, but these are lagging indicators and we have gone down following both of those crosses. So maybe we are looking at some dip buying opportunities. And if I do throw up the drawings back up there, what we can see is that some of those levels, like the 200-day, it does seem to correspond pretty nicely with that orange uptrend. I suspect that 291. Everybody's going to be cheering for 300. Then maybe we get rejected there. So that does correspond with that bullish scenario that I have there. The 50-day moving average does seem to correspond pretty nicely with that 618 as well as the top from April 9th, right around 272 or 269 or 272.69. Is that the high was 274.69. So, got to have fun with those numbers. And let's see, that would correspond with the tops of this yellow scenario. Does make sense there. And then kind of an intermediate corresponding with the tops over here, that 21-day moving average, that could be some resistance. And so, what I am planning on doing, I am planning on holding my very small position, whether this goes up or down. It doesn't matter to me. It's just like I am very excited about Tesla. I always have been. Elon has been such an amazing, unbelievable innovator. And while he might have some controversial views, there are some things he does you may not agree with. That's all an emotional aspect. What we're looking at with Tesla is great innovation with EVs, renewable energy, autonomy, the Optimus robot. I'm very curious to see what happens with that, and robo-taxis. Those are all things that just seem very, very incredible, and seeing what's been going on with the Cybertruck, very intriguing vehicle, very cool, and nice to see them on the road. I don't know if you guys have seen them out there in the wilderness, but it's always exciting to see one. And so for me, what I plan on doing is if it does go up here, I'm going to be stoked about that. If it stays around here, around my average, I'm going to chill. If it dips a little bit lower, maybe I'd add a little bit. But what I am going to do, I am going to patiently wait for, this level of confluence right around 169, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower. I'm going to wait for that to get hit, and that could be following a move up and rejection and then a pull back, and then that be, just an amazing dip buying opportunity like we've seen over here a year ago, like we saw over here at the beginning of 2023, and like we saw over here at the beginning of the pandemic, March 2020, Tesla hit that low of $23.37. Of course, that price is adjusted following, splits and whatnot. But yeah, I'm so excited about Tesla, excited about the future. I'm inspired by it. And to be honest, I'm tired of people, dragging me down with their emotional arguments, or, something being somewhat controversial and them dismissing it or being angry about it or whatever. I'm inspired, and I think that we should lean more into inspiration. And that is what I see here. I think there are a number of options to buy at discounts. I think that in the future, we will view this as a discount. And I think that we are potentially going to be seeing the stock price taken off here. So I'm just really excited about it, and I wanted to share that before earnings. And let's just check back over here. 1 vote so far. Let's check again. Still just 1 vote. Make sure you vote, and I will record the stream. I will stream their earnings call after the fact, but it will be nice to look at the chart and think about what's going on during that. But anyways, as always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Have a great earnings day. Cheers, guys.